Do you ever find yourself thinking about how different life was back in the 1970s? From the way we got our music to the technology that we had at the time, it can sort of feel a little surreal to look back and remember what it was like. When you explain this to kids today, they tend to look at you like you're crazy. In this video, we will take a look back at some 70s things kids will never understand. In the 70s, we all loved our music collections. Some of us had 8-track cassettes, but most everyone had a collection of records. And if anyone ever came to your house, you would proudly show off your collection. Back then, it was very common to have friends over on Friday or Saturday nights and sit around listening to records while playing board games, eating popcorn, or creating something yummy with your fondue set. Record stores were not only a great way to build up your music collection, but they were also a great way to kill some extra time. It was very common to visit these stores and run into people that you knew. These old record stores were also perfect for introducing you to new bands or types of music. Sometimes they would even have some special performances, giveaways, or an autograph session from someone famous. Another way for you to build up your music collection was to join the music club Columbia House. There you could instantly get 13 records or 8-track tapes for a penny. All you had to do was purchase some additional albums at retail price, which was usually more than the record store plus shipping. Just about everyone tried this, including me. Each month they sent little postcards stating what would be coming in the mail. If you did not check the no thanks box, then they would send it to you in the mail. Most everyone could not remember to do that, so we probably all still owe some money for some unpaid albums. Citizen band or CB radios were very much a part of the culture in the 1970s. These were two-way radios that allowed users to communicate with others who were within range of their signal, which was typically a few miles or less. CB radios were commonly used by truck drivers who communicated travel hazards, accidents, traffic jams, and weather that was up ahead on the road. They were also great ways of passing time while you were traveling. The CB culture was so big in the 70s that it found its way into music, television shows, and movies. This led to all sorts of drivers getting their own CB installed inside their vehicle. Users would then come up with their own handle or nickname to use instead of their real name. The CB community even had their own language, saying things like breaker breaker to start the conversation or 10-4 to mean the message was received and understood. If you listen long enough, then you could pick up on some of that terminology as well as some pretty dirty jokes. Speaking of being on the road, if you were traveling long distances and you did not know the way, then a paper map was absolutely necessary. Of course, this is long before the modern days of GPS. In the 70s, you had to know how to read the map as well as have some sort of sense of direction. Probably the biggest frustration was folding it back up into its original shape. Sometimes relationships were really tested while arguing what the map actually said. Seat belts in the 70s were nothing more than a recommendation. Overall, most people did not wear them since it was not required, unless maybe it was bad weather. Most people just tucked them into the seats so that they would be out of the way, but some people actually cut them out of the car. In the 70s, you could sit however and wherever you wanted. Kids could sit or stand on the front seat in order to get a better view. They also piled into the back window or floorboards where they could take naps on long trips. It was also very common to pile a bunch of kids into the backs of station wagons and pickup trucks. Most kids thought it was fun to tumble around with their friends on sharp curves and fast braking. Hitchhiking was a very popular way to get around in the 70s, and back then it felt safer. Accepting a ride from a stranger was perfectly fine, at least most of the time. Men, women, and children could do it together or alone. You cannot discuss the 1970s without covering bell-bottoms. We all wore them and we did not care. Everyone wanted to rebel against the more conservative way of dressing in the 1950s and early 60s. The best way to do that was to make sure that your pants were long and flared, just like your hair. Another way to look cool in the 70s was to wear plaid pants. They were everywhere, and even cool guys wore them with solid color turtlenecks. It did not matter whether you were a young boy or a newly divorced dad. This was in style. Shorts in the 70s were just that, short. Whether you were male or female, they were short, and men under the age of 40 were encouraged to show off their legs. It did not matter whether these shorts were purchased that way or they were cut-offs from an old pair of jeans. Something else that you don't see a lot of today are tube tops. Women were wearing these everywhere, and if they didn't watch it closely, it would slowly creep down throughout the day. Sometimes they revealed a little more than they wanted, so it was very common to see women constantly trying to pull them up. If you were a young adult, teenager, or kid in the 70s, the skating rink was where it was at. This was a popular place to hang out and laugh with friends while circling the rink for hours. Music was a big part of the experience, and depending on your popularity, the couples skate could either be something you dreaded or looked forward to. The average playground in the 70s was a little like a war zone. At some point, you would see some kid flying off the merry-go-round and break their arm. The metal slides on a hot sunny day were a little like going down a hot cookie sheet fresh out of the oven. And if you were on the swing set, there was never anything to cushion your fall except some good old hard ground. For most 70s kids, breakfast was usually a bowl of cereal, but choosing that cereal was an important decision. No one was ever concerned with how much sugar it had in it because just about every brand had a lot. The cereal companies worked hard to entice kids by offering fantastic toys inside combined with all sorts of artwork and games on the outside of the box. Some cereal boxes even had 45 RPM records that you could cut out and play. They might have sounded terrible, but they were super cool. In the 70s, most people couldn't even dream about having cable television. Generally, our TVs had only 3 main channels, which were ABC, NBC, and CBS. If you were really lucky, then you might have PBS or some other local channel to watch. Our televisions were huge, heavy pieces of furniture that took up a lot of space in the living room. When you turn the TV on and off, you could actually feel static coming out of the screen, and it can make your hair rise. In order to get a good picture, these televisions were hooked up to a big TV antenna that was either on top of the TV or on the roof. Every so often, it took a little adjusting of the antenna or some fine-tuning on the knobs to get the picture just right. Since we did not have that many channels, we all ended up watching the same television shows, which was great for conversations at work and at school. We planned our week around certain shows because we had to be in front of the television in order to see it. For the most part, there wasn't any way of pausing it or watching it later. Today we have a lot more choices, and kids today do not really understand how we bonded over the same programming at the same time no matter where you were. Since there was not a whole lot on television, this meant that we spent a lot more time outside. Backyard barbecues were really important. Many of these involved family and friends, but oftentimes it could just be your neighbors. Back then, it was all about socializing and in person. Both kids and adults enjoyed outdoor games, and some of those could be a little dangerous. If you ever got hit by a metal horseshoe flying through the air, then you know exactly what I mean. But one of the most dangerous games you could play was lawn darts. If you did not use them properly, then they could be missiles with a metal tip that could end up puncturing a body part or inflicting some serious harm. The goal was to toss the dart and have it land inside a loop, but that did not always happen. Eventually, these lawn darts were banned in 1988 because they were deemed to be too dangerous. Kids today will never fully understand how things used to be. A lot of what we did back then is no longer possible. Technology has advanced, laws were made, and time has moved on. Can you think of anything else that we missed? Or perhaps you would like to share some of your memories that made the 1970s great. Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.